Hello, everyone. I'm Preeti. I'm the registered migration agent in Aussizz Group. And today I'm going to talk about the topic about the teachers. How can they migrate to Australia? If you are already in Australia, what you need to do, or if you are currently overseas, what is the process for getting the migration? Currently, there is a big skills shortage for the teachers in Australia, and definitely it's one of the high demand occupation for which the migration purposes. And we highly recommend anyone to even take up this course and go for it, or probably can pick up these applications. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Now, the first thing for any skills assessment is for any migration application is the skills assessment. And the assessment is on the grounds of your education that you have done in your home country or you have done in Australia. Teachers have got a lot of occupations into this one. For example, we have got a primary school teacher and a secondary school teacher, early childhood, teachers with special needs and etc. and a lot more. In regards to the skills assessment, the requirement is almost the same. There's a very little difference amongst all of those months, which I'll cover in my next few minutes. Firstly, for the teachers' skills assessment, your assessment body is AITSL, for which their requirement is that you must have undertaken the study, which is at the minimum level of the bachelor's degree. Your bachelor's can be in arts, your bachelor's can be in science, your bachelor's can be in any field, it doesn't matter. Along with the bachelor's degree, you must have also undergone either a master's degree or a graduate diploma or a bachelor's in education, which is B.Ed. In the countries like India or any other Asian countries, that's for 1 year, which is considered as an advanced graduate diploma in education. It is mandatory to undertake this one. Either the whole bachelor's degree must be in the education, or your graduate diploma, which you are doing for the 1 year, that must be into this. Including these two things, it must be for 4 years of a degree. And it is mandatory that when you have undertaken your bachelor's of education, there is a 45 days of supervised training, and that must be undertaken. If you haven't done those 45 days of supervised training, irrespective of how many years of experience do you have, you will not be considered for the skills assessment. This is the most important aspect. Rest of the things are in your hands. You can sit for an English, you can get a higher score, you can get a lower score, you can do the studies, or you can enroll for the new studies or what. But while studying your bachelor's of education or master's of education or your B.Ed degree, you must have undertaken a 45 days of supervised practice. This supervised practice is where it is a kind of a vocational placement which you have done while studying. And in this vocational placement, you might have attended a school, and in the setting of the school, what was the age of the kids? What was the classes that you have given those ones? That is important, because then it will lead to that which skills assessment can you get. For example, while doing my supervised practice was for the kids of early childhood, which is from 4 years to 7 years old. If I have done the supervised practice under them, then I cannot apply for the secondary school teacher, even if I meet the rest of the requirements of the secondary school teacher, which is year 7 and above. But if because I have done my supervised practice under the group of the age of 3 to 7, I can only apply for the early childhood. It is important to know which skills assessment are we going to apply for, because this assessment, not all these occupations are in the long-term list. We have got an early childhood teacher or a secondary school teacher in a long-term list. Primary school teacher is not in a long-term list. That means if your occupation is not in a long-term list, then you have to have got the state nomination in addition to in your points test system. You cannot apply directly under the family sponsored stream or under a 189 visa application. So when we are applying for the skills assessment, we should either look forward towards the early childhood or about a secondary school teacher, which two of them are in 189 and 491, as well as 190 skills occupation list. Coming back to the AITSL skills assessment requirement, another thing for secondary school teacher important is your bachelor's degree must be in a maths or a science or in a science. If you have done bachelor's of arts, then, and even if your secondary school, you are applying for a secondary school teacher because your supervised practice was under that one, you would not be eligible and you would be considered for an early childhood only. It is important for the secondary school teacher to undertake her own bachelor's degree, the undergraduate degree for in the maths or in the science, as these are the very important subjects for a primary and a secondary school teacher. If you haven't done those ones, even your supervised training is under that section, we will not be allowed to undertake those skills assessment. How do we prove that we have done the supervised practice? Generally, all the occupations or all the studies which are held in Australia, it has got an inbuilt supervised practice as a part of a curriculum. So you don't have to worry for that, as long as you are doing bachelor's, master's in teaching. Master's in education is different, or the bachelor's in education is different to the teaching in an Australian curriculum. So you need to be careful when you are enrolling for the master's or bachelor's, it must be in teaching. However, in overseas countries like India and other Asian countries, it is considered as a bachelor's or master's in education, and that's fine. That is acceptable for AITSL skills assessment. And now the next part that we want to talk about is when you are applying, there is also a requirement of an English test. AITSL does not accept the English test of PTE. They only accept IELTS academic, not the general. And it is important to have 7-7-8-8, which is reading and listening is 7 and writing and speaking in an 8. So you must have got 7-7-8-8 as the minimum score to be acceptable by AITSL to undergo the skills assessment. There is an exemption for the skills assessment, which is that if you have undertaken 4 years of study above the bachelor's level in Australia or the countries which are equivalent to the study level, which is UK, US, New Zealand, Australia, these are the countries. So if you have undertaken, so let's say, for example, I've done a master's here in MBA in marketing. After that, I have enrolled for 2 years of a course of a master's in teaching. Then I do not need to score the 7-7-8-8 for the skills assessment, because there's an exemption for the people who have done 4 years of a master's degree. And whether that can be, or I have done bachelor's in engineering or bachelor's in science, that was for 3 years. And then I have undertaken a 1 year of a graduate diploma. That's again fine. A graduate diploma in teaching, because that will also meet the requirement of studying 4 years of a degree in Australia or the countries which are equivalent acceptable. So I repeat the requirements of the AITSL skills assessment because that's the first step when we are applying for a migration purposes under the teacher. AITSL is your assessment body. You must have undertaken minimum 4 years of the study. These 4 years of study is at a level of where your minimum 1 year of a study must be of relevant to an education degree. It can be a graduate diploma, it can be a B.Ed, it can be master's. You must have undertaken 45 days of supervised practice while doing your education degree, bachelor's, graduate diploma, or master's, whatever it is. Those supervised practice must be the part of your program, what you are studying. It does not need to be out of this one. So let's say that you have already completed your degree and your supervised practice was only done for 30 days, then you are not eligible. And if you do another supervised practice after completion of the degree for 45 days, that will not be accepted. So that must be a part of a curriculum. To prove that you have undertaken this one, you need to provide a letter from your university, not from the college. It's a letter from the university, which must say that under what setup you have done that one, how many days, what age of students, name of the school where you have undertaken this one. This letter should be issued by the university, which is affiliated to your college where you have undertaken your education degree. Australian curriculums are already inbuilt with these 45 days of supervised practice. In addition, you also need to sit for an English, which is 7, 7, and 8, 8. Reading, writing 7, listening, speaking 8, academic, IELTS, no more than 2 years ago, that the test must have been undertaken. The exemption for the English test is that you can have 4 years of a qualification in English medium, which has been undertaken within Australia, and that is above the bachelor's level or above, so including the bachelor's level. Another point for this one is you cannot do the supervised practice after completion of your degree. So this is about the skills assessment. That's the first and the foremost step for applying for any permanent residency. Once we have already undertaken the skills assessment, then the next point is that you have to apply for expression of interest. The expression of interest is based upon what occupation have you undertaken, your skills assessment. As I suggested, that you must take it for either the early childhood or you should go with the secondary school teacher, because then you have got more EOIs to lodge it for, which is the 189, 190, as well as the 491. 189, currently in the recent rounds, we have received all the teachers with as minimum score as 65, which is great. We have never seen the 189 invites for about minimum 85, 90, or even 90, 95 in the previous rounds. It's just in the current round or the round held before, which was in September, as well as in October. End of August, we had a round, and then in October, we had a round. Teachers have been invited as low points as 65. You are meeting the points on the basis of your age. I give you an example. Let's say I'm a 30 years of old. We get 30 points for the age. From the bracket between 25 to 32, that's what you need. Then you have got your education. Let's say I'm overseas. I've done my bachelor's degree in science and I have done a B.Ed. I have got a skills assessment as a secondary school teacher. I get 15 points for that. So you are sitting at 45. Then you are a single, you get 10 points for that. You are 55. You have got 7, 7, 8, 8, which is the minimum requirement of English to go for the skills assessment. And that gives you 10 points also. And that's 65. And that's it. This is what you need to be invited for the permanent residency. very high chances to receive the invite, even if you're sitting onshore or offshore for the teachers. Teachers are currently high in demand, and the very quick turnaround of receiving an invite, as well as the visa also, which is approved. There's no such requirement that you must have 3 years, 5 years of an experience. Without experience, this is an occupation which leads towards the permanent residency. As I talk about, the most important thing in this one is your skills assessment, meeting the requirements for the skills assessment, doing the right study. You do not have, if you are in Australia, you do not have to study the education, you have to study the teaching, because these are completely 2 different courses, and which leads to the residency, and the other one does not. Once we have lodged the skills assessment, which is for a 189, then you will receive an invite. Let's say that for some reason I'm of an age which is 35, and I have not received my invite because you're not meeting the minimum, then you are eligible for a state or a regional sponsorship also. 491 visa is a relative sponsored, with your relatives, which are your brother, sister, and your first cousin, or your auntie and an uncle. They can give you the 15 points, and that can, including those points also, if you're meeting 65 points, very high chances of receiving an invite and getting into and applying for the permanent residency. The department has released about 12,000 of an invite last round, and similar number of invitations in the round before also. And the teachers were one of those ones which is received at the lowest points at 65. Now, once you have once you have lodged your expression of interest, as I said, the next step is for lodging a visa application or a state nomination. Every state in Australia is different. Their requirements are different. We have to meet the state requirements separately in addition to the visa requirements if applying for a 190. You would only need to go for a 190 application if you are not meeting the minimum points of a 189 or a 491 relative sponsored. Then the state can also sponsor you. Different states have different requirements, and state is accepting those applicants who are currently in Australia living in this state or who are offshore. Interstate applicants are very rarely, only very few states are approving those ones. Western Australia is one of those, which is taking the interstate applicants also. But in the last 2 rounds, we have not seen any applicants being picked up for interstate. Hopefully in the next couple of rounds, we'll start looking into those ones also. Once you have received the state invite or the department's invite or the relative sponsored invite, you can lodge the visa application within 60 days. You need to be careful when you are lodging the visa. You must make a decision-ready application. Nowadays, department's processing turnaround is very quick, and it is as quick as less than a month's time. Yes, you're correct. We have received the visas where we have lodged and received it in as close as 1 month's processing turnaround for a critical occupations like nurses and teachers. So make sure when you're lodging a visa application, you are doing a decision-ready application, because that will help you and the officer in a quick turnaround. Once the application is allocated to the officer, it is a decision-ready where all the required documents are uploaded at the time of an application only. Then officer can grant you straight away. If it is not, then it goes back into the Section 56 additional request, which will delay the processing, and which is, I'm sure you will agree, is neither in your interest nor in the department, as they have to reassess your application once you provide the additional documents. So it is highly recommended that once you have looking into lodgement of your visa applications, make sure you are doing a decision-ready application. It's good to wait for all the documents to be uploaded and then do the lodgement, rather than you think that, okay, let me lodge it first and I can provide my documents later. Let's say, for example, you have applied for your police clearances and you have not received the outcome yet. And I would recommend that you should wait for the outcome and then lodge a decision ready application. However, in saying that, do not wait beyond the 60 days because your invitation will expire within the 60 days. So if it happens that for some reason you have not received your outcome or you have not received all the documents within 60 days, then yes, of course, you have to receive the invite. The invite gets wasted, the invite gets lapsed, and it will be removed from the skill select. And then you have to wait again for your invitation. Invitation is very precious. We do not have to let it go. So make sure you start working on your documents along with the day one you receive an invite. And once you have lodged your visa application, it's all good, and then you will receive your grant. So it sounds very interesting. It sounds very quick. Or what it is that you finish your studies, you do your skills assessment, you lodge EOI, you receive invite, and you lodge a visa application. And trust me, it is the way it is sounding. That's how it is. It's all about getting your skills assessment, doing the right application for the skills assessment. Once you have got that one, it is not hard to get your visa quickly for those ones. Now, I will be taking the questions for and the first question is by Bhavika. Just one sec. Okay. Let me see who will have given the questions, and we'll take it one by one. Pratyusha, what are the chances of getting permanent residency for newly graduated mining engineers? Okay, Pratyusha, this is about the live session for the teachers. However, I'll quickly answer you. Your occupation is also on the list, and there are high chances, it depending upon which state are you in, and whether your state is accepting if the mining engineers or not. For 189, if you are offshore, high chances that the engineers have recently been invited at the 65 points. Bhavika Chabra, next question. If the supervised practice certificate is issued by the college and not the new university, can it be accepted? In a very rare circumstances, AITSL has accepted the certificate issued by the college, but you have to give the explanation why it is not issued by the university, or the letter from the university saying that they are not going to provide this one and it will be only be issued by the college. Then there are the chances that the AITSL can accept those ones. In the first instance, you must try to get it from the university only, because otherwise it is one of the mandatory requirements for the skills assessment. How much gap, ma'am, how much gap is acceptable in Australia? This is the question by SH Kashyap. Right. This is not about the student visa, and I don't do the student visa application, so I'm sorry about that. Rameshika, do you have any idea of next 189 round and chances of mechanical engineer offshore with 85 points? 189 round is always happening on the grounds of that what seats availability. The first two rounds have been very big rounds with 11 to 12,000 invitations in each round. Once they have accepted, people have accepted those ones and there's still the seats left, then the next round would happen. It used to be on 11th of each month, but not anymore. Next is nurses, ma'am. Okay, so we'll do a different session about the nurses. Right now today, our sessions is about the teachers. One, Bhavika again, what is the current cutoff for teaching? 65 is the cutoff for the teaching for 189 and 491s, and for the different states it's different, but we have seen at the minimum points teachers are being invited even for the state occupations also. How many years of experience of teaching in Australia, do we need to apply for permanent residency? No, we do not need any experience to apply for permanent residency. If you're meeting your points without the experience, which I've just talked about, where with your age, highest points with the age and education and your English, you meet the minimum points, and that's what it is required. There's no such requirements to have the experience. The only requirement is to have the 45 days of supervised practice. 𝐲𝐨𝐬𝐚, I've submitted nomination for South Australia 10 weeks back. Also sent 2 emails, no response, what to do. You need to speak to you can call them and try to contact them, because application for this one is not taking as long as 12 weeks. Nilushini, kindly tell about early childhood teachers also. Nilushini, so for the early childhood teachers, it is, the requirement is that your bachelor's degree can be in any field. Your supervised practice needs to be in a setup of an early childhood, where you have done minimum 45 days of supervised practice in a school where it is from the age between 4 to 7, you have done 45 days of practice there. And you have done either a B.Ed or your master's, minimum 1 year of an education, bachelor's in education also. If you have met those ones, the English requirement is the same, and rest exactly everything is the same. 189 is it is early childhood is in the 189 also, and the cutoff for those ones are 65. MD Ishaq, I've completed my bachelor's in IT and having 90 points, but to have alternate option is early childhood teacher, good option for me. Definitely early childhood, graduate diploma in early childhood, which is the 1 year, is a very good option, because if you've done bachelor's in IT, which is probably 3 years of a degree, and if you do 1 year of a graduate diploma in early childhood, it will lead you towards the permanent residency without sitting for an English requirement, because then you will be waived off to sit for an English test. And this gives you a skills assessment, even with 7 each also, or maybe lesser than that. A very good option for the people who have not got their permanent residency on the basis of the bachelor's study or the master's study, what they have done it. This is only a 1 year of a study of a graduate diploma. Few colleges are even giving the master's study also. You really need to gauge it out, whether you need to undertake the graduate diploma or you need to do your 2 years of your master's study. There is a lot of difference between both. Not in the process of the skills assessment, because as I said, you need minimum 1 year of an education degree. So the graduate diploma meets that requirement. However, if it's your first study in Australia, then I generally recommend that you do the master's here, because that 2 years of a study will give you a graduate visa. And within that graduate visa, you can do your skills assessment and then your further application, the time that you needed. If you just go for 1 year of a study, then you may not have enough time and you have to apply for another visa to stay in Australia. So it is good, but you really need to gauge whether you need to do your 1 year of your graduate diploma or 2 years of your master's study. Next question is from Snehal. I've already done my master's in education and have experience into teaching and counseling. So will the profile be considered? So Snehal, as I just mentioned, the master's in education is different to master's in teaching. Master's in education will lead you towards a skills assessment from VET-assess, or for the counselors or for the education consultants or other assessments, right? And for that, you need 1 year of an experience. Masters of Education does not lead you towards the skills assessment from AITSL if this master's is from Australia. If your master's is from overseas, yes, we can look into, and it can be considered towards this one if you towards the AITSL skills assessment if you have undertaken the 45 days of training. So if you could let me know whether your master's in education was from Australia or is it from overseas country. Next question is from Nalishini. Kindly tell about the early childhood teacher occupation. Is early childhood and childcare worker the same? No, they are completely different. Early childhood teacher occupation skills assessment is AITSL. Early childhood childcare worker is the educator, and their skills assessment is AQUA, which is completely different. They both have completely different pathways and cannot be mixed into each other. The teacher skills assessment is on the basis of what I mentioned, and the childcare worker, which is the educator, is the assessment where and does not lead to residency straight away under the point system. You need the employers to sponsor you and must have 3 years experience. Do not mix yourself with the early childhood teacher or the childcare worker in the early childhood. They are completely 2 different occupations. Sada, next question. Which assessment body is responsible for assessing early childhood learning and the requirements? If you're talking about the early childhood teacher, then it is AITSL. If it is about early childhood childcare worker, that's AQUA. And Aussizz Singh, there is no contact number. We'll provide you that one. How many points will graduate diploma of ECEC give me? Graduate diploma is not going to give you any points. It is considered as a highest qualification. You must have done your bachelor's degree. Your bachelor's degree itself gives you the 15 points for this. And it's only the 2 years of a study of an Australian study give you 5 points for Australian. So graduate diploma is only going to lead you towards a skills assessment. And that's why I just mentioned, you really need to assess whether you need to do a 2 years of your master's in teaching or you need a graduate diploma. And that's what the reasons it is for, whether you need that for your 5 years of your Australian study or not, 5 points you need for that or not, whether you need your graduate visa or not, because graduate diploma by itself is just a 1 year of a study. It does not meet the requirement of an Australian study to give you the 5 points. If you have done another study from Australia, that can be combined together to give it, but not by itself. So I can only assess by case basis whether a graduate diploma in the teaching is good for you or whether you should go for your master's in teaching. Diploma of early childhood can apply. Now again, this diploma of early childhood is different to graduate diploma in teaching, early childhood teaching. These are 2 different ones. One leads to the childcare worker, other leads to the teacher. You have to ensure that you are not getting into a diploma of early childhood. I'm talking about a graduate diploma of early childhood teaching. These are 2 different things. Again, I have seen a lot of people where they think that, yes, I hear somewhere that the diploma of early childhood leads towards the residency. And that's where is the confusion comes from. Or the master's in education leads to residency. It is the master's in teaching is the correct one. Graduate diploma of early childhood in teaching is the correct one. Master's in education is the incorrect one. Diploma of early childhood is the incorrect one. I hope I'm clear. Now, the next question is from Bhavika. Currently, I'm on a student visa. Am I still eligible to do skills assessment and apply for PR if I meet all the requirements? Yes, Bhavika. Skills assessment is completely different to what visa are you currently holding. Skill assessment is done on the basis of what education and qualification you already have. If you are meeting all the requirements, why do you want to wait for your 2 years or whatever study you are doing and then do the assessment? Because again, you would need the same requirements to meet. So assessment does not need has got nothing to do with your current visa. You can even apply for the permanent residency while holding a student visa and can also be granted also. So you do not need to wait if you're meeting the requirements. Second, what about if I do 2 years of bachelor's as I took 1 year of credit from diploma and advanced diploma? So if you have done 2 years of bachelor's, it will only be considered as 2 years qualification. And if you are asking this question in regards to get the exemption, then you should do the exemption in English, then you should do the Masters in Education. That altogether will make it a 4 years of an Australian qualification. And then you can do the skills assessment. It will be an inbuilt 45 days of training, and you would be exempted to undertake the studies also. Sorry, undertake the English test also. So the 2 years of your bachelor's, if you have completed in Australia, will only be considered for 2 years of a degree. But for the graduate visa, that's fine. Those 2 years will be considered under the graduate visa as an Australian study, even if you have taken the credits. Next question is from Angel. How is New South Wales invitation round for 189 applicants? 189 is not on the basis of the stay. Wherever you are living, whether it is onshore or offshore, it is for all of those ones. Currently, we have seen for 189 applications, the engineers have been picked up for 65 points from offshore. However, the teacher and the nurses, irrespective of what was your country of residence, they have been picked up for at the minimum points. Ujjwal Pandit, what's the processing time for visa grant for 189 offshore? It is a very quick processing time, provided it's a decision-ready application. The current processing time, depending for the critical skills list, we have even received it from about 4 to 6 weeks. MD Ishaq, next question. I've completed my bachelor's from Australian, and my 485 visa will expire on 4th of August 2024. Will the university manage my 45 days work placement? You have done your bachelor's. Is it from the bachelor's of teaching? If you have done your bachelor's of teaching, then yes, it will be a part of your curriculum itself. Gurmeet Kaur, next question. What's the chance of applying if person is between 40 to 45? Gurmeet, it all depends upon how many points are you having despite of your age, because for the age you are going to reduce a lot of points. Let's say you will only get 15 points, but if your occupation is the one where you can even get the invitation at 65 points, you can cover up those ones by the other things like giving a spouse skills assessments also, or by having higher points in English, or getting a state points and all that. So it's a very big question. But the people between 40 and 45 also, we have done their qualifications assessment, and I've got the visas for them. Next question is from Anju Shukla. I've B.Ed from India. Can I do Cert 3 here and apply for early child care? Will it lead to PR? No, Anju. The certificate 3 in early childhood is a completely different occupation. That leads to a childcare worker, does not lead to the residency under the point system. If you have done a B.Ed from India, I would recommend you could either do a graduate diploma, not a diploma, it is a graduate diploma. Graduate diploma is a level 7 qualification, which can only be done if you have done a bachelor's degree. It's in between the bachelor's and the master's. It's a 1 year of a course. You can do that one, and that will make you eligible for AITSL, the skills assessment. But if you're looking forward to get the 485 visa, which is the 2 year, which can only be done if you do a 2 years of a study. So we could discuss about it, that which is better for you. Okay, so Snehal, ma'am, I've done MEd from India. So if you've done MEd from India, if you have done a 45 days of supervised practice, you would need an English test to undertake, and you will be eligible for the skills assessment. And Anju, for you also, since you have done a B.Ed, and your bachelor's would also be there, you could also apply for the residency straight away. You do not have to come here and do the studies if you have done your 45 days of practice. So all the educations in all bachelor's or master's in education, which have been undertaken in India, and it is a total of 4 years of a qualification that you have done, minimum 1 year in the education, and you have done a 45 days practice, you're all good to apply for residency straight away. You do not have to come here on a student visa. You do not need a lot of years of your experience. You can apply straight away. Nilushini, for early childhood teacher, if I have a BA in early childhood education, 3 years in Sri Lanka, will it be valid to do masters in teaching? Yes, this will be valid to do a master's in teaching. There are different universities which has got a different basic requirements, but you could apply for those ones and one of the university will take it. Next one is Darshana. Will it be possible to obtain student visa later if we are about to lodge EOI for 189 first? EOI is completely different. Department do not keep a record for those ones while looking into your visa applications. So these are two completely different platforms. You could do that. And next one is from Snehal. Thanks. Bhavika, thanks. Then is Mustafa. Hi, Preeti. I just heard about the SRC 5010. What is the 2-year exclusion period? I'm a sponsored student and would like to apply for another visa. Does it apply to me? So if you, yes, it does apply to all the students which has done the sponsored application earlier. They are banned to apply for the next ones. Ujjwal Pandit, university lecturer. It is completely different occupation as compared to the teacher. University lecturer is assessed by wet assess, where you need minimum 1 year of your experience as a lecturer in the university. You must have done some research work or publications to be eligible, and then can apply under the 189 skills assessment also. This is a completely assessment body, but also leads to the residency under the lower points. Nilushini, where can we get all the information of PR pathway to become an early childhood teacher, where it states the teaching qualification required education of 4 years should be at the university? It is at the department's website, AITSL. So if you write AITSL skills assessment, you'll be able to find those ones. Next one is Jabir Ahmed. Can we apply New South Wales 491, currently living in Sydney? To be eligible for 491 in regional, you must be living and working in the regional area. You cannot apply while living in the metropolitan. Nilushini, appreciate if you can tell how to get the state nomination points or blood relative living in Australia. Okay, so Nilushini, for the blood relative, all you have to do is you have to speak to your eligible relative that they must be living in a designated area. The whole Australia is considered designated except Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane metropolitan. So if your relatives are living there and they are the Australian citizen or a permanent resident, then you are eligible to receive the points from them. When you lodge the expression of interest, you just only need to mention that you have got an eligible relative and it will automatically give you the points for that. For the state nomination, every state has got their own requirements. Currently, for the WA, it is the requirement is minimum 1 year of an experience as a teacher, as well as a full-time job offer. And for the other states, they are taking it on the basis of highest qualification and what are your points into this one. So we can always, whenever I do the state nomination, different ones, you can always link onto those. Corey, I'm a private tutor. Can I apply for any state for PR? Private tutor is completely a different occupation as compared to the teacher. Private tutor is assessed by wet assess. This occupation is not in the 189 list. It is only into the state list, and you have to see which states is accepting those ones. And again, the call read, I'm a private tutor running my own private tutor with positive skills assessment. Can I apply for PR or other visas? So again, read what you have to do. You need to look for the different state occupations. You need to let me know if you're currently in Australia or offshore. And okay, so in the next one, you have written right now onshore on bridging visa, waiting for student visa from a tourist visa. Which state are you currently in? It is very important for you to study in the state where your occupation is on that state list. Because once you are in Australia, you are only eligible for your own current state. As you said, you are currently living in Victoria. Victoria ROI, you must lodge it, and their requirement is that you must be having a skills assessment. You must lodge an ROI for Victoria, and they would consider you if you are already working in Victoria at any skilled in any occupation at a skill level 1 to 3. So those skill level 1 to 3 you can find on ABS. And if you're working in that one, the chances are you can be invited by the Victoria State Government. Now, I think that was the last question. And thank you everyone for listening. I hope you have got all the answers, what you were looking forward for this session. And 𝐸𝐴, they refused my application as they want my income details, but I have no work rights. So you probably need to wait for your Reet, you probably need to wait for your student visa to be granted so that you can get the work rights and then apply for the ROI again. We've got another couple of more questions, so I'll take those ones because I've still got the time for that. Jaber Ahmed, currently living in Sydney, completed Bachelor's of IT, sitting at 95 points. What are my options? For the IT occupation, as you know, they have made it mandatory for a lot of applicants to have the experience. Without that, it is getting harder to receive the invite from New South Wales. I would highly recommend you to migrate to Western Australia, because 95 points, if someone is on a general stream, Schedule 2, they all have received their invitations for a 491 as well as for 190 in the recent rounds, but they need to be living in Western Australia. So, and there's no such requirements that you should be living in Western Australia from the last 1 month or from last 1 week or from last 3 months, doesn't matter. So if you have got your expression of interest that you're currently living and you have just moved, you would be invited. You are sitting at high points to be invited for 190 as well as 491. 190 visa in Western Australia would need a job offer in your nominated occupation. 491 will not need any job offer for 6 months. So you can look into, if you can get a job offer, apply for the 190, otherwise apply for 491. Very high chances to receive the invite even in the coming rounds also, provided you have moved and living in WA even for the last 1 day. Mustafa Ayed, thank you, Preeti. Is there any type of visa that I'm eligible to apply for, or any chance that I can waive SRC 5010? So unfortunately, this no, you cannot. This visa has got the restrictions on applying for the next visa. So you probably need to get that waived off from your government itself. Now, thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned. I would keep getting more information on different other state nominations. I'm thinking of planning to do one of the seminars on what are the different states' requirements, which I have received a lot of demand for that and will be doing it very soon. Thank you, everybody.